Good evening. This is Anthony Barton here to discuss case study 4. The case I decided to use today was case 11, the absent superintendent. So to talk about the key players in the case itself, this case takes place in Placid Falls, New York. So it's a suburban area outside of New York City. It appears to be a very affluent area and also appears to be a great place to work. From what I can read, it doesn't seem that positions come open often simply because the tax base is really high because it's an affluent area. Property taxes are extremely high, so that means the local tax base supports the school system at a very high level. It seems to be apparent that the pay of teachers and administrators are really good. 15% of teachers and 75% of administrators even have terminal degrees. So I think that's really impressive. The position of superintendent comes available. 123 applications. That's amazing. Is brought in. Some well-known professor and educational leader is retained by the school board to assist in the search for a new superintendent. Dr. Andrew Segosi is a current superintendent in a large school district in North Carolina and applies for the position. He leads from a school system that has more than 20,000 students. Yes, more than 40,000 students to apply for a position with just 2,000 students. Some background information that's going on personally that the school board may or may not know is that his mother lives in New York and is terminally ill. So he is leaving friends and family in New York and North Carolina, to be closer to his mother. Even though it doesn't say that specifically, that is some background information. It appears that Dr. Segosi is the best candidate for the job. He interviews very well. He retains an attorney to help negotiate his contract. He ends up securing a $185,000 contract for 4 years, along with some fringe benefits as well. At the time of his appointment, 2 current assistant superintendents are already employed by the school district. Dr. Al Yanko, who I would consider an associate superintendent or someone who really is the lead person in the district in the absence of the superintendent, and Dr. Joan Myers. Dr. Myers, it says, is in a very interesting situation. I've never heard of an assistant superintendent that does not have functional authority over employees. It seems like more of a principal, mentor, or coach. What is also unusual about her experience, and it makes reference to this in the case study, is that I see where she completed her doctoral studies and she was an assistant principal, but I don't see where it specifically says that she was a principal anywhere before assuming this position. After Dr. Segosi arrives, he is quick to get to work, meeting with cabinet members, meeting with central office leaders. It doesn't say he met with principals, but I'm sure he did, even though this is a very small district, and meets individually with them, which I think is very impressive. What seems to happen very very quickly though in the next few months of his first year is that he becomes less and less available to school leaders and central office leaders in the school district. It said that in less than 4 months, though, he was very highly involved in the community. He became a member of the local United Way board and was appointed to a local bank's board of directors. So it is very obvious that he's making positive contacts in the community and being very open with them. It is apparent though from the case study that the prior superintendent spent lots of time at the central office and was very hands-on, was very able to get in touch with when those folks at the central office had questions. So the issue begins when Dr. Myers attends a national conference and is very interested in writing a grant application for a grant that would initially be a gift of $50,000, not a gift, but a grant amount of $50,000. One of the stipulations, though, is that the school district must be able to match $50,000. So Dr. Myers is very eager to get back and talk to Dr. Sagrossi, or Sagasi, excuse me, but isn't able to reach him right away. So when she comes in, he's out of the office at a national conference as well. So Dr. Myers walks over to Dr. Yanko's office. Listens. Dr. Yanko listens to where she's coming from, the ideas that she has, and quickly lets her know that the school board has to approve an expenditure of that amount, and that the only way to do that is if the superintendent puts that on the board agenda. So Dr. Myers has a very close timeline, and just to be very honest, she gets on the superintendent's agenda several times, and several times is rescheduled. So now she's at the point where she's getting ready to be at a wall, basically, or at a standstill, because it appears that she's not going to be able to speak to the superintendent to get his approval to have this added to the agenda so the school board can approve it. And she's frustrated, and rightfully so. So there's several ways to look at this. Different superintendents, different school principals, different central office leaders have different approaches to leadership. My approach to leadership is boots on the ground. I love my job. I love being a principal. I'm sitting here in my office today because students are gone, teachers are gone. This is when I spend most of my time in the office, in the summer or before school and after school. I believe that while students are here, while my teachers are here, I need to be in classrooms, monitoring what's going on. Where kids are, I like to be. So I just prefer to be very active and visible on my campus. Now, I have some colleagues who I respect greatly who spend more time in their offices and still run very effective programs, are still tied in, keyed in to what's going on in their buildings, but don't spend as much time outside of their offices. So I think that those principles are still effective, but their view on leadership is different than mine. I think one of the issues here is Dr. Myers is still new to the district. She's comparing the access to the superintendent to the access that district leaders had to the prior superintendent, which I think is unfair. What she probably doesn't know is that he does have a sickly mother, so I think that is, the author made mention of this, so I think it is a factor to consider. But also, he's obviously making connections in the community, which may support him in a different way later in his tenure as superintendent. I'm not sure if he has some major plans for this school district or needs some major changes to occur. If that's the case, then he knows he's going to need the support of leaders in the community. So it's obvious he's just not leaving and going home. To be appointed to these two local boards already within just a couple of months, he's really working on building some support in the community. The lens that I struggled with what lens to view this through, but the one that I thought made the most sense was the ethic of justice. And I'm going to read a quote from Sharpio and Stefalich that helped me realize that. Sir Giovanni thought of educational leadership as a stewardship and asked educational administrators to create institutions that are just and benevolent. By beneficence, Sir Giovanni meant that there should be deep concern for the welfare of the school as a community, a concept that extends beyond the school walls and into the local community, taking into account not only students, teachers, and administrators, but families as well. If Dr. Sagosi is spending a considerable amount of time outside his office in the community building relationships, then I can support that. The plan of action I would take as the school superintendent is, if that's going to be the leadership style that he imposes on the school district, his he's gonna have to explain that at some point. I really like that he took the time to come in early and speak to school leaders, speak to the assistants, speak to other leaders in the central office, and to let them know what his expectations were. And it's obvious he's not a micromanager, but now that he has pulled back without letting him know that he was going to make that transition, I think some folks are really confused. Dr. Myers has some great ideas, and I do think that the superintendent needs to make time to meet with her because she's doing this in the best interest of children, and I think it's definitely going to be something in the best interest of the district. But he has to take into consideration that even though he is delegating some of these duties to those that he supervises, there are some things that he just needs to makes time for, and he definitely has to make time for the folks that are leaders in his district, those that are in his cabinet, those that are leading his schools. I know that it can be very difficult to be able to meet with everyone that request an appointment, but she's now been rescheduled I think 3 times, and he's getting ready to take a 10-day vacation. I think it's only respectful to give her the time to be able to explain what it is that she's proposing to be put on the school board agenda. So I think ethics of justice is the lens I'd like to use. I think Dr. Segosi needs to be transparent with the way he's going to run the district. And if he needs to be hands-off, or he's decided that a hands-off approach during the day-to-day operations of the district is the route he wants to take, with a more hands-on approach with those that are in the community, he needs to be transparent and to be able to communicate that to his to those that he has in leadership positions in the district. Thank you.